Hello and welcome to another episode of Exploring Standards. I am Jess, your host, and today I am back here with Jaz from Assent Risk Management. Jaz, how are you?
Hiya, I'm all good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So Jaz was on the podcast previously, and we did a podcast about the common misconceptions about ISO certification. So you can check that episode; that is out already. So Jaz is head of client services at Assent, dealing with all our clients and kind of the middleman who does everything in between. So we're back here and we have another episode today. And our episode today is choosing a certification body. So Jaz, I'm going to get straight into the first question. So my first question today is, what does a certification body do?
So the certification process, it can be confusing. So while the process can vary depending on the scheme, generally the management systems such as 9001, 14001 and so on, they normally follow a two-stage process, which the certificates lasting for a period of 3 years before renewal. So normally once you engage with the certification body, they will send you your quotation. You then have a stage 1 document review. So the stage 1 audit signals the start of the ISO process, and it's used as an opportunity for the certification body to review the structure of your management systems through the available documentation. They will seek to verify that any mandatory requirements have been addressed within the documentation. It's usually conducted on site, but since COVID, they are a little bit more lenient on it. They might let you get away with having that part remote. Sometimes they let you have it all remote now. It completely depends on your industry of your company. So it's often said that stage 1 audit, it's not a pass or a fail, because between stage 1 and stage 2, you do have some time to fix any issues that may have been brought up. So the stage 2 audit is the certification audit. The stage 2 audit will cover all aspects of the management system. So whereas stage 1 was just the document review, stage 2 is sampling records to obtain objective evidence and make sure that the system is operating effectively. For this reason, there normally needs to be a minimum of 3 months worth of records to evidence for the auditors to review. And again, whether or not this is held on site or remote, completely down to what industry you're in and your certification body's preference. So after the stage 2 audit, that is when you will get your certificate once you've passed. The certificate cycle lasts for 3 years, as I mentioned earlier. After this, each year you do have a surveillance audit. So this can vary depending on the complexity of your management system and your preference, but they normally fall annually or 6 monthly. And this is to in normal terms, it's just to make sure that you haven't got your certificate and then stopped doing your ISO, basically. It's something that you do need to maintain. And again, we can help you maintain that, or you may do it in-house, but you will have an annual or a 6 monthly surveillance visit. And then once the 3 year cycle's up, you can renew your certificate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. So why do we need a certification body?
So as a consultancy ourselves, this is one of the biggest misconceptions that I get asked this question so many times. So as a consultancy, we cannot offer certification due to conflict of interest. So like I say, it's something we get asked all the time. Any UCAS accredited body, they will not offer the same services we offer and vice versa. This is due to the guidelines and the rules of the UCAS accredited body. So UCAS, just to give you some background, that is the UK's accredited body. So any certification body should be UCAS accredited. Once we've been in and we've supported you on your journey with your implementation or even just ISO support, we do all the internal side basically, and then the certification body come in, they externally audit everything we've helped you put in place. They then provide your certificate for you, which you can display on your social media, your website, your products. So the main reason you need that certification body is due to conflict of interest and not auditing your own work. And then the certification body provide an independent verification of the UCAS certificate.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. You mentioned in there the UCAS accreditation and that certification bodies. Do they have to be UCAS accredited or do they not have to be?
They should be accredited. So there are some certification bodies out there that are not UCAS accredited. We have worked with clients who are certified with non-UCAS accredited bodies, but we personally here in the UK, we only recommend that you work with UCAS. There are others out there, so it's always, if you're not sure, you can always ask us if you're not 100% sure, but you have got other certification bodies who are accredited, but because they're outside of the UK, they fall under a different name, such as you have one in the US called ANAB. So again, it's still the same thing as UCAS, but because it's in the US, it just comes under a different name for them.
Okay, thank you. I think this is going to go in nice into the next question is, what do you need to consider when choosing a certification body?
There's quite a few tips that I've given many clients over the years. Obviously, I can't tell you who to go with. Normally, if you do ask me for some certification quotes, what I'll do is I'll send out maybe 3 emails, if that's okay with the client, just so they can get a decent look at different prices and quotes, and then we're being impartial as well. So just as any certification body will audit your company to verify the processes, the bodies themselves are accredited by a central body, which is most recognised as UCAS here in the UK. So the things to consider, it's worth considering your number of staff. So high numbers of staff involved in the same process can reduce the number of audit days, whereas in other cases, the number of effective staff is used as a measure of complexity, and it can also affect the number of days. When you speak with the certification body and provide the staff details and the scope details, they will then obviously provide you with a quote and the number of days recommended. And you can always, don't be scared to go back to them and say, oh, well, I think we can cut it down here and there. And they'll always like amend your quote for you. Another thing to consider is the brand. So some certification bodies in the UK are a lot more recognisable than others, which can be very attractive when considering using their certification mark. So you can use it again, like on stationery, website, products. However, some certification bodies operate in niche markets or have particular reputations within certain industries. So there are other things you can consider: brand, industry, and some certification bodies will only cover certain standards where others won't. So again, that's something to consider when you are looking around. You could also got to consider, similar with many consultancies as well, there may be travel costs. So that's something to look at when you do get your quote, because sometimes it's not included straight away on the quote. It might say it at the bottom. So ISO certification is recognised internationally. And if you operate in multiple territories, such as like if we're in the UK, if your head office is here, but then you've got an office in like France or Italy, you may need to consider that the certification body is going to charge you for that travel if they need to visit that location. But again, this can all be discussed at the very start, so that's not a problem. The location of the certification body branch's office can vary, and those who are further away from your branches, obviously it will lead to increased travel costs. Alternatively, if you only operate in one country, then a smaller certification body could offer lower costs and a more personal service. And since COVID, many of them still offer remote work as well. They might need to only visit your site one day. The only other things I can think of to consider, it's worth considering your future requirements and growth plans when you engage with the certification body. This is due to, for example, if you got ISO 9001 and then in a year's time you did want another standard, but that body doesn't cover it, you're then going to need to either change your certification body once the cycle is complete, or you're going to have to have two different ones, or you're going to have to just wait and then leave that cert body and go with the one that can cover it all. So it's good to consider your future plans. Obviously, not many people may think that far in advance, but just something to take into consideration. And also, many of them will provide training services, which can be a really big advantage to a company as it grows, while others have specialist services such as compliance software, insurance services, and industry analytics.
Okay, thank you. I think you've given us some like really, really good tips there. You did mention briefly about cert bodies being now the niche markets and having sort of a better reputation, or for different industries. Where can people find that sort of information to know kind of what to go for? Is that something information that we can provide, or is there something we can send people?
To be honest, a lot of it is word of mouth, as to which ones are more popular than others. And again, you have so many that are UCAS accredited in the UK, but some of them might just have a bigger presence in the whole world. Like this, we've got some that only operate in the UK, then we've got others that operate in the UK, and then they operate everywhere else as well, covering the whole world. So even some of the ones that cover the whole world are not as well known as others. But we can give you that advice if you need it. And even when you just go on Google and have a search, obviously the most popular ones come up first. but then you have to consider that due to their popularity, they might be a little bit more expensive because you're having that logo.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jazz, for that. If you need any information on certification bodies, you can visit us at www.assent1.com. There's also a Cert Bodies website, and I'll pop a link in the show description for you to find that as well. So thank you very much, Jazz. Hope you have a lovely day, and thank you for listening.